been running this campaign here for many years. Doc, good morning.
Good morning.
So tell us about this. Let's start first with what the campaign is all about, why we're talking about wearing red lipstick in particular in April.
So April is the international month that marks active support and campaigning to show support for those who are survivors of sexual violence and assault. And it did start in the US in 2012 from a personal experience of a young woman who wasn't believed by her own family that she was assaulted by a family friend. And everyone just kept asking her that, are you sure he did this? But we all know him is such a nice guy. And for her, because of that lived experience, she kind of thought about all the other people who are survivors that firstly are not believed and secondly have nowhere else to connect with each other.
Yeah.
And hence this campaign started. I've been running with it in South Africa since 2015 with amazing results. And every year it gets bigger, the conversations get deeper, and it just sustains itself practically.
Okay, so red lipstick. The idea for that? What are you hoping the impact of that is?
So red is very out there in your face. You can't ignore it. And if I'm not someone who's used to wearing red lips, it is a bit of a conversation starter to be like, oh, I see you've been wearing red lips consistently now for this month or for a few weeks. What's going on? And we realize that it's not easy for everyone to have these conversations around sexual assault, especially with survivors. People don't know how to show support, support as sympathetic as they may be or empathetic. And often this is a good icebreaker. If you are someone who's not comfortable with red lipstick, you may just, I'm impressed with the cup stain of red lips.
Yes, that's my lipstick.
That's beautiful because that's also a conversation starter. So you may not be wearing red lipstick, but I'm wearing a red dress, I've got a red bag, it may be a red hat, a scarf. And I think for those people who still don't feel comfortable talking about it, just being visible in red is enough. Not all of us are at the same space where we are able to talk, we even offer support, because often, as I found even online where this campaign really works on, is that a lot of women, only when they see us in red and having these conversations and using the hashtag warriors, okay to share, consent is mandatory, that they really then start to think for themselves and process how they've been having sex throughout their lives, and people reach out. And the important thing for me in South Africa specifically is the linking of people to services and care, because we know that we're still doing very terrible in terms of post-sexual violence support.
And sometimes those closest to you are incapable of helping you.
Exactly. Whether it's forensic, medical, psychological, and social, all right, because people often are fleeing situations of abuse. And what I think for me in the next phase of the campaign, looking forward to the next year, is how do we do research to actually count the survivors and the comorbidities and the long-term impact of the types of violence that people experience in South Africa. But I think more of a database that's alive, that's dynamic, that can be updated.
But you need more people to come forward and talk to you. That's
and more
what
resources,
you need. And then victim blaming doesn't help that process. I want to just ask you very quickly about victim blaming and the culture here in South Africa, because not only is it victim blaming, but it's a covering up of the crime, because it's known to the family, because it's somebody, and it's what will people say.
And the survivors are often made to carry the shame of the violence and not the perpetrators themselves. And often women talk about the justice system and how it fails them, and therefore that shame and that judgment is almost systemic, and it's almost like a double trauma. So once you want justice, you kind of have to ask yourself as a woman, am I willing to go through all of these where judges and magistrates are saying some of the most horrendous things to
making
victims,
you doubt yourself.
Making you doubt yourself. And I suppose the hashtag no to victim blaming and victim shaming is the fundamental core message around the campaign. Even if that's all you're tweeting every day, people watch it, they get the message, they find the courage to speak. Some people have disclosed to me that, look, I never knew that I haven't been having consensual sex. And you assist people in terms of getting assistance, because often they want to stay in these long-term relationships. Some of them are marriages. I mean, I don't know if you know about the latest comments by Sherry Blay. I was interviewed by a media house in Washington, where she had said that most African women's first sexual experience is not consensual. And, some of us, myself included, in the field who are feminists, took a bit of an issue with that, because, again, the issue of consent, the issue of violence and trauma and rape is not an African women thing. And by framing it as such, they further stigmatize, and I think for me, further project black women as these perpetual victims, disempowered, and again, we carry the shame and not perpetrators, because rape and violence is a human experience.
Okay, well, you do wonderful work, Dr. Tlaleng, and I'd like to see how this campaign pans out for the rest of April. Can we post our red lips? And
of course we will. I'll wait for a selfie and we'll do the things.
Okay, we'll do that. Okay, thanks very much. Founder of Nalane Associates for Reproductive Justice, Dr. Tlaleng Mofokeng.